As you found out yesterday, this morning's guest is richly amazing. Stay tuned for part 2 of Myrtle Beach Herald's Dixie Diva coming up next. Good morning. Welcome to Carolina People. This morning we're at the Myrtle Beach Marriott Resort at Grand Dunes. We're focused on part 2 of the amazing woman, Ronda Rich. Good morning. How about that amazing woman?
Oh, thank you.
A little different than Southern humor. That's right. I got it. It's 7 a.m. I didn't get it yesterday. It was Halloween.
I know. It's taken years to get you to this point to realize I am amazing.
I love it. I love it. It's great.
I realized it the moment I met you.
Oh, come on now. Listen to that.
I knew you were amazing. It did not take me years.
That's a little thick on a Thursday morning. Give me a break. You had a great Halloween last night?
I did.
Did you?
I stayed right here at the Marriott.
Here at the hotel?
They had some wonderful.
They've got a nice Halloween motif.
It's the most comfortable beds I've ever been in here. Oh, yeah, great.
You were thrilled. Of course, the great thing here, you were here last week, last Thursday, a week ago today, for the 67th annual meeting. Standing ovation. It was a giant room. There were more people in there than for the luncheon. I mean, literally. It was a humongous crowd. It's as big as a ballroom. I mean, and folks were on their heels immediately after your talk. Very popular.
They were very, very kind to me. Wonderful hospitality. I have flown here through the night from New Orleans. My great friend Mary Edie, and this is what a great friend she is, comes to the airport after midnight to pick me up.
Come on.
Which I remember, I called you and said, Mary's picking me up. And you said, well, if she doesn't show up, you could call me.
I did. After midnight, anytime, I would have been there. Absolutely.
Yeah, so come get me. But Mary Edie comes through the night.
Mary was there after midnight?
Yeah, through the rain, through everything, got me, you know.
She is unbelievable.
Yeah, and it was almost time for her to get up that morning. She gets up like at 3:30 in the morning.
They had a big day last Thursday. The big, is it the Southern Women Writers Conference or Southern Writers Conference?
Yes, they had that week last week.
A lot of folks. She lined up. Mary Alice Monroe, who was with us this week. Absolutely. You really got out and about.
Yeah.
Of course, a lot of folks know you around here, Rhonda, because of your column for almost 3 years now. Is it a little more than 3 years?
Yes, something. I've lost track of it.
It's a long time.
I think the column's been syndicated for about 4 years now, and you were one of the first newspapers to step up and get it. One of the first 12 or 13 papers. It's in 53 newspapers now.
Is it really?
From Myrtle Beach all the way down to Biloxi,
I love it. I saw that on your website.
Yeah.
What's SouthernWomenKnow.com or RondaRich.com. Folks can go online there and see. Not that it highlights all the papers, but it uses that great line from Myrtle Beach, South Carolina to Biloxi. Thank you.
You're
take
welcome.
that as a real.
Well, you do a great job with the Herald. You are very local driven.
We are.
You know, and
Absolutely.
I'm very pleased to be a part of that. Recognizing that people love the South. And they love to look at things that I write about. And intuitively, you knew, starting, that it was a great idea to do a column that kind of bridges between a metro life and a rural life, because that's what you have. You know, in Myrtle Beach, you have a lot of the town people, but then you got a lot of rural area that lies outside.
Geographically, the largest county in the state, so clearly a lot that has to happen in this very big county, but all of them think Myrtle Beach is kind of the center.
Yes.
Even the folks in Conway have a feeling that Myrtle Beach keeps a lot going on. Very definitely. Very definitely. You know, we mentioned just yesterday, you used the word y'all, and it made me think about John Rawl.
Yes.
You're still doing the column there for Y'all magazine. Very popular.
Yes, yes. Yeah, he had an idea to do this full glossy magazine down in Oxford, Mississippi, that just pays tribute to the South and its people. It's called Y'all, and that's a great title, isn't it?
Very popular. You know, we talked about your first book yesterday, What Southern Women Know That Every Woman Should. But of course, the real and not that that's not amazing, because I think we talked yesterday, it's in its 26th
printing, going into 27th, yes.
Unbelievable. And of course, a lot of folks, or viewers who weren't with us yesterday, just that basic question, what does it take to get a bestseller out there, Rhonda? What does it take to get a bestseller?
With this book, I just found great points of connection. I just sat down and simply wrote who I and my friends and my family were as Southerners. And people just connected. You know, they always say, we see ourselves in what you write.
Really?
And they connect. And, you know, a lot of the things I wrote in that book I forget, because I'm not one of these authors that keeps reading what I write. I write something and I forget that I've written it. But I had a lady come up to me the other day, and she said, honey, the funniest thing I ever read you wrote in that book, you said that we Southern women don't talk bad about the men we've been married to because we don't want anybody to know how stupid we were. I said, I forgot I said that. That was brilliant.
I love it. I love it. That is great. That is great. My Life in the Pits, another great one that really helped
my favorite,
get you rolling. Is that right?
I think it would be, because I spent 10 years on the NASCAR circuit as first a sports writer.
10 years?
10 years.
10 years on the NASCAR circuit.
As first a sports writer and then a sports marketer.
Right. And
it was a very important time in my life. I met people who taught me so much about finding success in life.
Right.
Because those NASCAR guys, and particularly the early NASCAR guys, did that.
Right.
You know, they often came from very rural communities.
Mm-hmm.
Dale Earnhardt was a 9th grade dropout who grew up in a mill village in Kannapolis, North Carolina.
Right.
Had this dream to just follow his passion, racing. And he became an icon. When he died, he was making $20 million a year. And you know, that sport taught me so much about following grand dreams and making them happen.
Right.
And I really believe I am where I am because I was in that sport.
Is that right? You really feel that way about it? Of course, USA Today gave you some time, and you wrote for other papers. I think you said down there in Gainesville, Georgia. Is that a daily in Gainesville?
It is.
It is, really. And Gannett out of Virginia.
It's funny, when I was a kid growing up, the paper ran 6 days a week. They ran Sunday through Friday, and they were off on Saturday. And they called themselves the Daily Times. Well, they weren't daily. And then they went daily, and they took daily out of the head. Now it's the Times, so it's hilarious. Only in the South do these things happen.
You grew up in Gainesville.
Oh, I have to tell you, I saw a newspaper in a little southern town not long ago, and it says, published daily except when isn't.
Oh, that's a good line. We could use that. I like that. I like that. That's great for weeklies and for small papers. But even in dailies, our director, Donald Smith, had recently been driving through Ellijay, Georgia. I don't know what took him to Ellijay, but he picked up a copy of a weekly there in Ellijay. And, of course, it had a big Dixie Divas in there, great... you were in tons of papers. Is it Princeton in the South?
I have to tell you about the Ellijay paper. They just took the column a few months ago, but I became the first columnist in the history of the Ellijay Times-Courier that they paid.
Oh, come on.
It was just such a big deal. It's a family-owned paper that goes back 4 or 5 generations, and they had never paid for a column, so that was a big thing. I mean, it was like front-page news.
Sure, that's a big deal. And, of course, a lot of folks do want that experience of getting into print, to be able to get started in a community, oftentimes, particularly small communities. And we have that where folks say, I'll do anything to get in. You don't have to pay me. And I say, you're going to be paid, because we want to keep the consistency there. We want to make sure there's something and make sure to keep them on their toes.
You're the only publisher I've ever had call me up and say, don't we need to raise your rate?
You know, I don't remember that, Rhonda. And I think you said, no, we don't. Yes.
I did say, no, we don't, but you didn't offer. I'm trying to make you look good.
I know. That's very kind. I'll take that.
I want to tell them the story about buying the water.
Buying water, Rhonda? Do you have a story about buying water?
With you.
With me? Oh, come on. Well, let it out. I want to hear it. I don't remember that. Claire would like that.
You know, this is one thing I love about you, Greg, and we're great friends.
Yes,
great. You're one of my best friends. I'd call you up and ask you for anything.
I hope you would, even after midnight. Even
I would.
If Mary Edie Scarborough
If Mary couldn't be there, I would call you.
Right.
And so we have, with great friends, you always have great stories on them.
No.
But one thing I love about you is really a generosity of spirit. I know that embarrasses you, but you have it. Very generous with everybody. But one of my favorite stories that I have long told, well, it just happened a few months ago.
I hope you redact my name, No,
I don't. I say Greg Everett. This happened with Greg Everett, which we were having dinner one night before Jeff Foxworthy's show.
That's right.
And you dropped me off because we were running late, and I ran into the restaurant to get our reservation, and I ordered water. And he said, well, do you want sparkling water? And I went, oh, I'd love sparkling water. And he brought it to me. And you came in, and I said, hey, would you like some water? I would love some water. And I said, well, I got sparkling water. And you went, you got water I have to pay for?
Oh, you are kidding. Did I say that?
You did. And the waiter came over, and he said, would you like Pellegrino? And you went, no, bring me free water. Tap water. Bring me tap water.
I cannot believe. Are you sure you haven't got me confused with Heath? No, this is really me.
That is really
I bet I did say that.
That is a patent story.
Generous. I can't say I'm generous to a fault then, but that is a great
that was a funny story.
And I enjoyed that water, and I hope you gave me a sip of your fancy non-tap water. Spring
Expensive.
Pellegrino, very expensive, and that hotel restaurant was very expensive. The town that I'm kidding. I did pay.
And he's still
she did not.
I'm
still paying off my credit card. The town that came a courting.
Right.
The town that came a courting, and what Southern women know about flirting. Both came out the same day.
Never happened in publishing history. And it was just one of those quirks. It was a nonfiction and a fiction book, so you could do that. You would never release two fiction books on the same day. All the stars lined up because both of them had been bought by imprints of the Penguin Putnam Company.
Oh, great.
One was a Peergy book and one was a Berkeley. So, and they shared the same publicity department. So everything lined up, and we did a 24-city tour across America, and we called it the Flirting and Courting Tour.
I love it. The Flirting and Courting Tour. That must have been huge.
Yes.
Yeah. And Mary Edie was involved in that as well.
Yes. She went with us to Arkansas. We kicked it off in a little town. They had inspired me to write the book.
The
book is about Blytheville, Arkansas. And the book is about a town that goes in search of a wife for its widowed mayor. It's a Reader's Digest book.
Is that right?
And it's going to be a movie. So
come on.
Yeah.
It's going to be a movie?
Yeah. And you know what? They had just gotten into the throes, but right now they're about to be a writer's strike in LA, in Hollywood. So it's kind of, we don't have a writer that's done the script yet, so it's kind of going to be a hold up on it. But they'll get everything worked out.
You're in no hurry.
No.
I got to throw out a couple of these names for folks who haven't seen your column, who may not read the Herald, who don't tune in, or for our viewers in the PD and southeastern North Carolina. Claudette. Mary Grace. Of course, Dixie Doo. We talked yesterday about Dixie Divas and Dixie Doo. And Mama. You write a lot about your mother.
And you know what? We're even thinking about doing a book of Mama stories because Mama is huge. She's a big star in her own right. People will come up to her and go, "Hey, Mama," but because they hear me call her Mama. But she says things to me my worst enemy doesn't even think. My mother says to me, "Oh yeah," but women understand that and they connect with Mama. And Mama always has a way of putting me in my place, no matter how big I get. One of my favorite things, she saw me on TV one night, and she called me up and she said, "You look so good. I couldn't get over how good you look." And I'm thinking, "Oh, this is great. Thank you, Mama. Thank you." And she keeps on talking. They had some other women on the show, and she said, "But then I got to thinking the reason you look so good was the rest of them look so bad."
Oh, my God. No,
so
Rhonda.
That's my Mama, yes.
That's hilarious. Of course, these Claudette and Mary Grace, who are those characters for folks who don't read the column all the time?
Well, and there's Penelope Ann. She's there. Penelope Ann is my friend who is more frivolous and silly, and she's more obsessed with the worldly side of life. And so she's very comical because Penelope Ann has never read a book. She reads Cliff Notes if she has to, and she's always concerned with her manicures and pedicures, and that's Penelope Ann. Claudette is a good friend of mine who is married to a great guy, and I love him, Jack. Love him very much. But he comes from a family where more of them are in jail than out of jail.
No.
So Claudette always has these hilarious stories about her in-laws, and they're true.
Sure.
Everything that we write, all of these stories are true. Mary Grace is a friend from college, and Mary Grace is like the etiquette queen, and she is always reprimanding me. The etiquette isn't perfect. You say best wishes to the bride and congratulations to the groom, and she's always chiding me for something. But I just did a column not very long ago about Mary Grace because she went to an event with me. She's a Southerner. She prides herself on her Southern roots, and she had never heard the song "I'll Fly Away."
Oh boy! Wow.
And this became a big thing. We're sitting in the audience, and they're going to sing "I'll Fly Away," and I'm going, "I can't believe that you don't know I'll Fly Away." And I keep on until finally a woman reaches over and taps Mary Grace on the shoulder, and she said, "I'm from Ohio, and even I have heard I'll Fly Away."
Oh boy, yeah. I love it. Poor Mary Grace.
Yeah, Mary Grace.
She got it then. It's embedded in her mind. She'll never forget it. Last week in your column in Dixie Divas, you were writing about Dee Dee, your good friend, and of course about...
Didn't we talk about this
We did yesterday. I just
there's
another name. I'm not going back to that. No, it was a great thing. We just highlighted. Of course, folks can go online to MyrtleBeachHerald.com, our show sponsor. They can check that out and read a lot of Rhonda's columns. We're wearing our fancy jacket today.
You see how we match.
We do. I love your necklace.
We're in harmony.
Yeah. We are. I'm going to have to tell Emma Claire there. She helped me pick this tie out today.
Well, tell her she did a good job because we're in harmony here today.
I will definitely let her know. That's sweet. You know, when we think about, are Southerners in general good storytellers, Rhonda?
Yes.
Are they really?
When the Civil War started in 1860, 75% of the Southeast was Celtic. And one of the strong marks of the Celtics is strong storytelling. Right. You know, they orally pass many of their stories down. The Scotch are very much like that. The Scottish.
Right, the Scottish.
You had to say the Scottish when you're talking about the European, but we are Scotch-Irish in the Appalachians. Right. But they very much pass down their stories through storytelling, right, and their music.
Oh, yeah.
So very much, and that's a sign of our Celtic heritage.
That's great. That's great. You know, it is tough. You talked yesterday about storytelling, and storytelling for a lot of folks, they just can't think of something they tell a story about. And you see it in minutia. I mean, in some of the smallest things.
And you know, in just the smallest thing, I'll go, that's a story. That's a story, and it is. One of my great friends, Barbara Dooley, who's married to the former football coach Spence Dooley at the University of Georgia. Barbara's a great storyteller. She just tells wonderful, wonderful stories. But she will say to me, because I run in their hometown paper, which is Athens, Georgia. I run on Sunday, and they will call me. She'll call me up and go, "Where do you come up with all these stories?" And I say, "Listen, I've got a story of 12. I've got a list of 12 and 15 stories I haven't gotten to."
You haven't even started,
You know, I went to a Gone with the Wind auction not long ago with Mary Grace.
Oh, yeah.
And I bought a great piece of Gone with the Wind memorabilia that I put into my kitchen. That's been on my list forever to write, because what it was, I needed something. I have a French country kitchen. Right. And the auction was hosted by the last surviving male member of the movie, Fred Crane, who played one of the Tarleton twins. And he had a French movie poster of Gone with the Wind from 1940. About this big. It's very big. And it was perfect. And I bought it at auction. So I've been meaning to do a column about that and haven't gotten to it.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure you do have a litany of things just bottled up, Rhonda.
Right.
We can't wait. Of course, all of our readers are dying to see those. You know, when you think about both folks you've written about, folks you think about, obviously folks who were here last week, heard you talk about a mayor in the small town there of which you wrote about, the town that came a courting. But are there folks you think you'd like to write about but you just can't do it? Or are there people that you want to make sure, I mean, are there things that you want to write about but you just have trouble putting pen to paper?
Well, I'll tell you, one person I've been trying to get for a long time is Kenny Stabler. Stabler lives in Mobile, Alabama, and grew up in Foley, Alabama.
Right.
And he is just a redneck kind of guy. He admits, I mean, we exchange emails all the time, but I can't ever pin him down for an interview. But I think that Kenny Stabler, who came from that great era of the 60s of the Bear Bryant teams, and just a good old boy, I think he's perfect for my column. And I think that's why I have a lot of male readers. I really developed this column for women, but I probably have, in some of my markets, I have a 40% male share.
Oh, come on.
Oh, yeah.
And you know that because they email you, they call you, they track you down, they show up at talks.
Georgia is one of those. I have a huge male following there.
Athens, the home of University of Georgia.
Exactly.
Wow.
Exactly. And last Thursday, when I was here for the chamber event, I had 3 or 4 guys come up to me and say, "You are the first thing I read in the Herald."
Oh, come on.
Yeah.
So we have some male
Edie
readers,
was
right?
here, and I think she took names, so she can tell you I'm not making it
I
up.
want to get those. That's great.
But You know, I tell stories, like I'll tell NASCAR stories.
Right.
I tell good old boy stories. I don't male bash. I never do that. You know, I take a female look on men in a funny way, the difference of us, but I don't beat up on men. You know, I don't like for women to do that.
Right.
You know, maybe other women like it, but I don't like it. I don't think it's becoming. It's not my style, so I don't do that. But sometimes I'll see something that's funny about men, and I turn it, and even they can laugh at themselves. But I think it's stories like Kenny Stabler that bring men to my column. And that is one story I want to do because I think he's a great Southern story to tell.
That's great.
And every once in a while I email him back and say, are you going to do this? He said, hey, I drive a pickup truck and I carry a pocket knife because he knows I write about this stuff. But I haven't pinned him down yet.
That's great. That's great, Rhonda. We got about 5 minutes. You know, you think about aspects, and as you travel around, do you ever get nervous when you're going out to talk to groups? Are there any groups? You talked recently about a group of 500 where the person who lined you up, 500 guys, the person who lined you up was worried that maybe you wouldn't connect with guys. Are there ever instances that you get a little nervous going on stage?
The only time that happened was I did an event in West Virginia at a big resort there, and it was for automotive engineers. And also on the program for them were Rudy Giuliani and Bill Clinton.
No way.
And they have brought me, this has been about 2 or 3 years ago, and I was so nervous because, you know, I thought these are people from all over really the world because they brought German engineers in. And I just thought, you know, I'm a lightweight compared to these guys. They're going to talk serious and academic. And, you know, and I'm just telling these stories of life in the South. So I got standing ovation. It was one of the best audience I did. But I did a lot of praying in my room before I went down.
Is that right?
I did. I did.
And
I pray before every event I do.
Do you really? Good.
I really do. I did before I went down to do the Myrtle Beach event. You know, I just, I want to be good. I want people to be entertained. And I just want it to be an experience that people walk away and very hopefully. I'll tell a story that inspires them. And if somebody walks away, you know, at Myrtle Beach last week, I did the Darrell Waldrop story, winning the Daytona 500, and I looked through the audience and saw 2 or 3 people dabbing their eyes. Because everybody knows what it feels like to follow a great dream that looks unobtainable. And I want them to walk away, and I had several people, I had 3 or 4 people come up and say, you touched me today because I'm at this point. I had a politician in Mississippi right before I came to Myrtle Beach, or he was running for a big position against an incumbent. And he came up to me after the event and he said, you don't know what a difference you've made in my life today.
Really, Rhonda?
So that's what you hope, is that you encourage people.
I saw that from the woman sitting next to me at last Thursday's talk, even though I was in the back of the room.
In the back, all the way in the back.
I was all the way in the back. The woman on my right was actually all the way in the back as well. And she was nodding her head as you were saying, don't give up. Your great story about Darrell Waldrop, which is very powerful. And a lot of folks will see that if they pick up My Life in the Pits and get into that. They'll also see the thrilling tale, which I think you mentioned will be turned into a movie, The Town That Came A-Courtin', which is hilarious. But, you know, when you think about yourself, do you ever dig deep into yourself, Ronnie? You talked about obviously connecting with God and praying on a regular basis. God's been a part of your life for a long time.
Absolutely.
So your father was a Baptist
preacher.
Yeah.
He was. And so my faith and who I am is so important to me. You know, and it's important to the people from which I come, the Scotch-Irish, the poor Scotch-Irish of the Appalachians, who never prayed for more than what they needed. And they prayed for what they needed. And that what they needed were crops to come in so they could pay the taxes on their farm. My sister and brother and I owned the farm that my grandfather basically had to sell moonshine to pay the taxes on. And I would never sell my part of that farm because it's such an important part of who we are and from where we come, from people who truly struggled just to stay alive.
Rhonda, you're working on a new book now.
Yeah.
Is it still in you? Is it something you're letting out? Do folks know what you're working on? Do you ever let people know? Is it a fiction?
One thing I just finished is a Christmas novella that I have just finished that. Just a simple little tale of an Appalachian Christmas in 1933, and a moment of love and kindness that goes forward to touch millions of lives from that moment forward.
Right. How do you slow down, Rhonda?
I don't.
What do you do to slow down? We're talking about
well,
a weekly
one thing
column.
I don't do is call you.
Right.
Because if I ever call you, I'm more nervous when I hang up the phone.
Oh, give me a
because
break.
You're
That's
going,
crazy.
No,
I don't talk
and
about
I was going, I thought my life was bad. I'm not calling you again.
Amazing. I mean, I literally don't know how you do everything with a column, with writing, having penned 4 books, and we're just wrapped up your 5th. Obviously speaking all over the country and really having opportunities all over the world more than 100 times a year. I don't know how you do it.
I think that what I've discovered is that the most important virtue that we can possess in this life, and I think there's not a virtue that's not important, but to me the most important one is humility. Right. Because we realize that there's a greater power that gives us opportunity, that gives us talent, that gives us ability. And I'm very, it's just hard work. And there again, it comes from my Scotch-Irish heritage of people who just worked hard, red Georgia clay that they could barely farm and make a living out of. And I feel so blessed that I never want to let an opportunity get by. Just whatever it is, I just want to work hard. And that's one of my great inheritances from my people is that strong work ethic.
You heard her say it, from my people.
You've got it.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you, Rhonda, for being with us this morning. Very definitely.
Thank you.
Stay tuned to more Carolina People with Ronda Rich coming up next. What great words. A good story can be found in the simplest of circumstances. In the simplest of circumstances, those simple steps down the hallway as Rhonda and Mary were walking into the conference room, the opportunity for me to get associated with Rhonda and the amazing partnership that she's had with the Herald for the last 3 years, connecting with all of our readers here in the area. Go online to myrtlebeachherald.com, take a look at some of her recent columns, or go online to whatsouthernwomenknow.com, whatsouthernwomenknow.com. Check her out, an amazing woman.